Hello everyone. Today I am at the Railway Museum in Tokyo, and I'll be showing you around the museum and telling you the history of all the locomotives and rolling stock here. I hope you enjoy the video. Starting off with this one, known as locomotive number 2 or Benkai, named after the Japanese warrior, please forgive my pronunciation. It is a JGR class 7100 locomotive and were first used in Hokkaido in 1880. And the locomotives were imported from Pittsburgh in America, which is very obvious from the way it looks, as it gives that classic American steam train look. Only 8 of them were shipped to Japan, and unfortunately only this one is left remaining. Locomotive 9856 is a Class 9850 steam locomotive. They were built by the American Locomotive Company in 1912 and were shipped to Japan and were used on multiple lines. But all the engines were finally concentrated at Yamakita Depot in 1922 to be used on the Tokaido line. After a while in 1926, there was no longer a need for all the 9850s, and during 1930 all were retired with only a few remaining, including 9856. And it's now used to demonstrate the interior of a steam locomotive here at the Railway Museum. Locomotive C57-135 is a C57 class locomotive and was the first Japanese modern standard passenger locomotive. It also had a freight model though, known as a D51 class. All of these trains were Pacific models. A total of 169 engines were made from 1937 to 1942. And 32 more were made after World War II, taking the total to 201 engines built. They were manufactured at the Kawasaki Rolling Stock Manufacturing Company, and the locomotives pretty much appeared everywhere on the Japanese sub-main line, and were said to be the most popular passenger engine. But with diesels coming more into play, the locos retired, and their last run was in December of 1975. Only 2 engines were restored. This locomotive, known as Toki, is a 181 EMU series made by the Japanese National Railways Company and were built to replace the 151 and 161 series locomotives that came before it. They were built from 1958 to 1963 and were used on the Tokaido main line, giving this train its name of Toki. But with more modern trains coming in, these trains were scrapped in 1986, only lasting about 28 years in service. Only a few of them are left. 2 of them are here at the Railway Museum, and 1 is parked outside the Kawasaki Heavy Industries factory. This locomotive, known as Asakaze, is a Class 22 or Nahan Nefu class. They were used on the Tokaido line when it was electrified in 1956, and were built as an improvement for long-distance trains between Tokyo and Kyushu, and the first trains were built in 1958. And in 1934, more trains were built as a limited express. And after a long time in service, they became obsolete past 1970, and in 1986 all were retired from regular express trains, with finally in 1997 the last train ran, with only this one remaining on display. This locomotive, known as a Class EF66, is an electric locomotive used by Japan National Railways as freight trains, as they are able to haul 1,000-ton trains at 100 kilometers per hour. As of 2009, there were 73 EF66s in service, with 63 owned by JR Freight based in Osaka, with the remaining 10 owned by JR West based in Shimonoseki. And as of last in 2021, only 2 of these locomotives remain in service. EF 6611 is here at the Railway Museum to be used as an example of freight trains in Japan, with some freight wagons coupled up behind it. This locomotive is a 200 series Shinkansen, which funnily enough predated the 100 series. They were introduced by Japanese National Railways in 1980 and were built till 1986. They very closely resemble the earlier 0 series Shinkansen train, except for the fact that this had a green livery compared to the Series 0's blue livery. The first units were capable of doing 210 kilometers per hour, but later units could do 240 kilometers per hour, with some being modified and doing a whopping 275 kilometers per hour. Some other 200 series even had double-decker units. Unfortunately, withdrawal began in 1997, and all had been withdrawn as of 2007. This locomotive is a Class C51 and was built by Mitsubishi and Japanese National Railways between 1919 and 1928, with 289 being built. In 1930, a C51 class hauled the first Swallow Express, reducing the travel time between Tokyo and Kobe to 9 hours. They were eventually retired in 1966, and out of the 289 that were built, only 4 remain, with the rest being scrapped. This locomotive is a Series 0 Shinkansen, and were the first generation Shinkansen trains built to run on Japan's Tokaido high-speed line, which opened in 1964. They were built by Hitachi between 1963 and 1986, with some more being built by other companies later on. In total, 3,216 vehicles were built, and the train first ran in October 1964. Unlike previous Japanese trains that ran on a 3-foot 6-inch gauge, these trains ran on their own 4-foot 8.5-inch standard gauge track. Their max speed was 220 kilometers per hour, and they generally retired after 15 to 20 years in service, with the final 6 car sets being used on the JR West Kodama services until their retirement in 2008. In total, 2,989 vehicles were scrapped, with only 27 remaining, including this one. These 2 locomotives are a 400 series Shinkansen on the left and an E5/H5 Shinkansen on the right. The 400 series was leased by JR East from the Yamagata JR Company. They were originally 6 car sets, but a 7th one was added in 1995 due to popularity of the service. They started in November 1991 and established a high-speed record of 336 kilometers per hour. But all were retired by 2010, which marked 18 years of service. The E5 and H5 Shinkansen were built by Hitachi and Kawasaki and are operated by JR East, being introduced on the Tohoku services in 2011 and the Hokkaido services in 2016, and they still operate to this day. Finally, the museum has a lot of interactive activities to do, and so I did a D51 driving simulator.
Please. And this makes 70, so now it is about 30 kilometers, so please move this to 40. Yes, great. Okay, then please push this all the way. Oh, more. Okay, great. Then please turn this to 80. Okay, last, please pull the handles together. Please pull this together. Yeah, great. Great, next station is Shinhanamaki Station. All of the climbing stations, so could you wait a moment? Please move the brake when the distance is 60 meters. Be careful you're not using the emergency brake. Wow, great!
As well as that, they had a narrow gauge 2-foot track that you could drive a little train across, which I thought was very, very cool. Overall, I would rate the Railway Museum in Saitama another 10 out of 10 experience that is definitely worth visiting. There's so much interactive stuff and so much to do and so many unique trains to see. I even believe I got to meet the deputy director of the museum. Anyways, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed watching, and bye.